Now, what about this? I wanted to spend a few minutes. I have a few minutes still, don't I, Liz? I've been warned.
You do, you're okay.
I've got how much?
You've got about 5-10 minutes.
5 or 10. 10, shall we say?
We'll say 10.
All right, I wanted to talk a bit about this because I've heard about the various people in the UK, and we get them too in North America. You get two kinds of people. You get the people who are going home big, it's just eat nothing but grapes for a month, and I did that and I'm cured, and wacky-doo. And then you get people who say, I really resent being told that my mind can have anything to do with my cancer. This positive thinking is crap, and don't look at it. You know, those are the two extremes. So there's a lot of confusion here, and the physicians understandably get fed up with a lot of the crazy stuff that's run by them and the things that people get off the internet and all the rest. So although quality of life is I would say the major, improving quality, is a major aim of this program, the question, can it make a difference to lifespan, is of no little interest. It surely was to me. I know it is to a lot of the people I see. And it is controversial. And it needs to be thought about carefully. The good reasons for studying it then are that it's number one on a lot of people's agenda. I know some of you here are cancer patients, so I'm sure you've wondered about this, if you're interested in mental techniques. A demonstration of longer life, an unarguable demonstration, boy, is that ever hard to get, would bring about a change such that this kind of self-help work, self-healing work, would be incorporated into the protocols, which is where it needs to be, in the hospital protocols, not relegated to an outside organisation, however good. And it's intellectually fascinating. There's implications, of course, for other disease and maybe for beyond medicine. It has to be, the whole idea has to be prefaced, I believe, with the caveat that cancer is an unknown quantity. It's different in everybody. It's like a big weight trying to drag you down, and your own body's healing systems are doing the best they can to overcome it. Medical treatment's doing the best it can. You can add another weight. That's an optional one. And maybe that'll be enough to tip it in your favour, maybe it won't. So whatever you do, and if you're a patient yourself, you have to realise that you can only do whatever you understand and are motivated to do, and then have to accept the consequences. Nobody can guarantee you that you can make a difference with your mind. So we began. There are many ways to study this. Only one is sanctioned by the medical research community, unfortunately. This is not one of them. This way is looking at people who have overcome a prognosis by experts that they had 6 months or a year to live. And are now, on average, the people we interviewed are 7 years beyond that, some longer. I thought it might be useful to actually talk to these people, find out how they changed. And we did that in a rigorous way. We had medical experts examine the charts to be sure they really had a terminal prognosis, which is not always the case in the anecdotal reports. We came up with these three qualities that I just mentioned. Authenticity, meaning I'm aware of what my life is about, what I really value. Autonomy means it's related but different. I feel I have the power to choose now, if not now, when. And acceptance, meaning much more tolerance of oneself and one's inevitable weaknesses and other people and theirs, which leads to much more joy and peace, quality of life anyway. We did a comparison group, and of people just entering the program, we did not find the same. We analysed the results of interviews in a qualitative way, rigorous way, did not find the same qualities very prevalent among them, so on. This is not unique. I mean, we've done this study in a rigorous way. Other people have done it in a more anecdotal way, but come up with much the same conclusions. The way that the medical research community, which I had the honour to belong until my retirement 5 years ago, was the only route to knowledge is the randomised controlled trial. You heard of that? It means that you take 200 people and you split them into groups of 100, and half of them get your treatment, whatever it is, a drug or a psychotherapy, the other half don't, putting it broadly. Then you look to see if there's any difference in survival. Okay? Well, these are the curves of two groups of patients with metastatic breast cancer, incurable. This is a gloomy graph, I'm afraid. This is the number of people left alive this number of months after the start. It's the proportion left alive. These are the people who got the treatment, these didn't, and there's no significant difference between those curves. It looks like there might be, but there isn't, statistically speaking. Now that, we actually did the first study of this kind designed to test that hypothesis. We were thinking about Spiegel's work, analysis of 10 years earlier. And since then, it's been done in larger numbers by several groups, always with negative results, although there were some earlier positive ones, not this design. So unfortunately, the conclusion has been drawn by the medical research community that sometimes is expressed like this: psychotherapy does not promote survival in cancer patients. That's not, I think you can see, that's not justified by what's been done. What is justified, and it is quite useful, is that psychotherapy of this kind, and it's largely a fairly mild, supportive, short-term therapy in most of the studies, does not increase the average survival. The average would need to be bumped up quite a lot to be significant. It does not say that highly motivated people doing a lot of work of this kind can't make a difference. I thought that would be a more interesting question to answer when it became clearer to me that this was the wrong design. That in fact, the therapies that have been used were too non-changing. They were more supportive rather than life-changing. The design, that any efforts of a remarkable patient will be lost in the average. I don't know if I've made that clear, but to do a randomised trial with, say, a drug, if 90% of the people flush the drug down the toilet, and you compare that group with the group that didn't get it, you wouldn't see a difference, but that doesn't mean the drug's no good. That's a little bit like what's happening with psychotherapy as a treatment. Most people aren't doing very much this day and age. It may change. And so you're not getting a fair comparison, you're not getting a fair test of the effectiveness of the drug. To do that, you need to look at people one by one, which is a much more tedious and much less highly respected approach. But that's what we did. And the paper can be downloaded with Kim Watson, can be downloaded from our internet site if you want to look at it. We took 22 medically incurable cancer patients. We had a panel of 14 oncologists study their charts and give us an estimate of survival. In all cases, it was low and usually around about a year. We gave them a therapy designed to induce change, much more intensive than in the randomised trials. We followed them over time, describing all the changes they made. They would write about them. We did interviews, collected a great stack of data. We verbal data, analysed it with qualitative techniques. And what I wanted to do was ask this question: is there a difference in survival between people who are not very involved, according to their self-report, versus those who are very involved? These people I would expect to live longer. These people wouldn't. And sure enough, it's exactly what we found, to a high level of significance. For those of you interested in stats, people who didn't do much lived about a year, as predicted by the oncologist. People who did a lot lived an average of 3 years, and 2 had complete remissions. Remember, these are people with terminal prognosis, still around, still send me Christmas cards. People who are intermediate, it's almost the best result of the 3, were intermediate in their effect. It doesn't get much clearer, but unfortunately, it's not the kind of evidence that's acceptable at the moment. We did, these don't matter much, but these are controls, people who weren't in the study, just to show that the oncology panel could predict survival with some accuracy. Not complete, but some. And just one more piece of unpublished data like this. I'd like to show this, although it's unpublished, because it shows just what I see and have seen in my clinical practice for over 30 years. Here are 18, I think, people who came to a group that I led sometimes for a year or more. They weren't all in it at any one time. The blue columns represent how long they were predicted to survive by experts, and the yellow columns indicate how long they actually lived. And this stopped a few years ago. There's a couple of these people still alive, and one lady just died way up here. And the yellow area represents the excess lifespan. Probably, one can't be 100% certain, but probably as a result of the work they were doing to try to heal themselves. There was a relationship between their involvement and their survival. I wasn't particularly testing that in this informal descriptive study. Not everybody gets this excess time, you see. And here there are some that don't. By and large, most do get a year or 2 more, and some, and they tend to be the people who are very involved, get a lot of extra time. Occasionally, people have complete remissions, which is wonderful. How could that happen? I'm almost finished. How could that happen? This is the work of based on the work of a wonderful American psychologist Lydia Temashok, who talked about the type C personality. You might have heard. Again, it's not acceptable to the oncology community, but she had some evidence that people with a distorted adaptation in early childhood, carrying, and this is work of Bruce McEwen, an allostatic load, heavy stress load all their lives, when they get cancer or other disease, if there's no change, it's going to progress. But if there's this profound change, they become less loaded with their stress, their guilt, their shame, and the rest of it. Then there's a chance of a healthier adaptation. She didn't take it through to therapy. What I think our work maps on hers very nicely and shows this is a possible pathway for what's happening when people do better than expected, drop their allostatic load, become more authentic, autonomous, and accepting, and live longer. So in summary, this is a program, the Healing Journey, designed for those who want to participate actively, cancer patients or family members. Modular format is an important feature of it. Gradual increase in intensity of work. I won't read it, but you can see there. The red shows effects that have been demonstrated. Spiritual ideas and potential for long-term contact with people. That's another way in which this program differs from some of the others that are out there. And the final slide is a lady who was a no-nonsense person, not some hysteric. She was very grounded. She said what we often hear. I think you've heard this at the Baldoria Centre. It's fundamentally changed my adaptation to life. The gift of cancer, which some people react against. You don't say that right up front, but it can be seen that way. A gift wrapped in barbed wire, because it makes us look at ourselves, examine our priorities, shift our lives accordingly. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.